Caribbean Showcase, we back. Second guest in the house tonight. Boy, before I introduce this artist, let's start with the fact that reggae music is touching corners of the globe internationally that you wouldn't even imagine. We're reaching the places where you would not even begin to imagine. Special guest in the house tonight goes by the name Ras Muhamad. He's live in the studio all the way from Indonesia, South Asia. He's aptly entitled the ambassador of reggae music for Indonesia. Once again, the artist Ras Muhamad. I'll let him introduce himself to the listeners. TGM Radio, Caribbean Showcase.
Yes, I give thanks for me being here. You know, it's an honor. Yeah, man. Big up.
Okay, I got a lot of questions. I got a lot of questions for you.
All right. Yeah, man.
Let's start from your humble beginnings.
All right.
Let's start with what drew you to the genre of reggae music and what has created the artist Ras Muhamad that we are sitting here with today.
Alright, well, so a little introduction is I'm from Indonesia, but I have a close connection with New York City because I moved to New York in 1993. And the first time I hear reggae music was about 1994, 1995, when my cousin had those mixtapes, and one of them was Buju Bantam's Champion, and I was familiar with that, you know, rock music. And, you know, the first foreign ears was like, yo, it sounded like rapping, but I couldn't understand the language. And I asked, like, what's this music? And it's like, it's reggae. So my first exposure was dancehall music. And that time when I grew up, unlike now, it's like when you say reggae, it's actually incorporated with dancehall also, you know, because at that time, during 94, 95, bashment music, you know, you still have the offbeats. You could imagine the offbeat. Tank while they're still in the dance already. So that was my first introduction to the music. But when I first listened to Bob Marley, it was about, I think, 1997. That's when my mom went on a business vacation. She brought me some souvenirs and things, you know. That's when I got introduced to Bob Marley music. But when I was culturally enlightened to Bob Marley music was about 1999. That's when I really got into the Natty Dread album, especially the tune like Them Belly Full But We're Hungry. That was like the pinpoint in which it opened my mind to about Rastafari, about, you know, about
I'm glad you brought that up, because let me stop you right there, because the listeners are not going to get a chance to actually see this video until maybe next week when we upload it to the YouTube page.
Alright.
Once again, that's Caribbean Showcase.
Right.
Caribbean Showcase, check out the YouTube page. But they're not going to get a chance to see you, so they're not seeing the man sitting in front of me in the studio right now. You obviously live a Rastafarian lifestyle.
Yeah, a liberty.
Okay, coming from Indonesia, what influenced you to become a Rastafarian, and how do you uphold that lifestyle in a section of the earth, a part of the earth that Rastafarians are not known to, or maybe they are known to Indonesia and we just don't know it. So tell us about your Rastafarian lifestyle, and if any of the Rastafarian lifestyle in Indonesia.
Alright, well, to me the Rasta liberty, it's a liberty. A lot of people misconceive it as a religion. Because for me, the life that we are living now is just a physical platform that we are living. We're actually spiritual beings living through this physical plane right now, and we don't know what's the next life that we are going to live through. And for me, life is eternal. That's what Rastafari teaching. And Rastafari is more of spirituality, the African and the original sense and the perception of how human beings see themselves and the universe, and that whole interpretation. And I always see that through Indonesia, because like I grew up a Muslim, but my grandfather was Kajawan. Kajawan is like a indigenous religion for Javanese people. And my grandfather always teach me that God is everywhere, and the person that I may be talking to may be God, speaking to that divinity. And I always connect that to I and I, you know. That's why like a lot of Rastas refer to themselves like the I, the I, the I, because it's always that oneness. And also between there is no physical space, because sometimes on how I see it, for Rastafari, coming again, it's not a religion, it's always about metaphysics. And that's sometimes the information that we simplify can just be limited to just our ears and our eyes, but we don't see what is between us, you know what I mean? So that's why Rastafari is about spirituality, and it's about vibration, about that positive vibration that we're moving with, you know, because in space itself, outside of Earth, there is no sound, but there is vibration, you know. Even when we sit still, the atoms are still moving, you know. So I incorporate that to Rastafari on how I see it. You know.
Okay. You just made mention of the oneness. We're going to get into the music in a minute. You're currently working with Oneness.
Yes, Oneness record.
The record label from Europe. Yeah. So, once you hear that name, you know we got some music on tap for you, because Oneness is doing their thing in Europe right now. Shout out to the label. We're gonna get into the music in a minute, but I'm just trying to get our listeners in tune with Ras Muhamad, the man, the person, and who he is. Why do you call yourself, or why are you considered the reggae ambassador to Indonesia?
Why do I consider myself? It was actually an awareness that opened up my mind, actually, when I returned to Indonesia about 2005 after leaving New York. I see that a lot of Indonesians love reggae music, but they still stuck on Bob Marley. And me growing up in New York and having this knowledge, I want to share it with the world, that I see that reggae music is more than just a genre. Reggae music is actually a culture. There's philosophy in it, you know. There's a liberty in it, you know. Fashion is culture also. Food is also a culture, and that's a part of reggae music, and also the Rastafari. And that is my mission, to spread that knowledge to Indonesians. And for about 10 to 11 years now, for my career in Indonesia, there is a lot of progress and opening up the eyes and the hearts of the people about reggae music itself, you know. So I think I've carried the mission pretty well right now.
Yeah, you're definitely doing a good job opening up our eyes to the Southeast Asia culture and vice versa. Okay, you left Indonesia. You made mention of the year that you migrated to New York before. Once you assimilated yourself into the New York culture, when did you actually start stepping into the booth, picking up the mic, recording as Ras Muhamad?
As Ras Muhamad, I think that's about 2004. That's about 2004. My region actually in the university, BMCC, Borough Manhattan Community College, Japanese Rastas. I didn't take me to like Brooklyn, especially like North Strand Avenue, Empire and North Strand at that time. You know, they take me to sessions and they see that I have talent. They're the ones that push me. Which, they were like, you know, make more tunes, voice it. And I actually made a somewhat like a half album, half demo. It's called Declaration of Truths, about like 10 tunes. And I released that 2005. That was actually the first time things like came to fruition in a recording.
Okay, we all are located in New York, the big city of dreams. But apart from the bright lights, there is an underground reggae roots culture going on in New York. You can find various sessions during the week, Link Up Tuesdays, Einity Sundays. You got a joint on Wednesday too, Father G.
Kush Wednesdays.
Kush Wednesdays. Okay, so we definitely have the root scene bubbling in New York City on the underground. Where were some of the places that you, apart from Notion Avenue, and who were some of the first people that you linked with once you started doing music in New York that helped you further your career as Ras Muhamad?
It was coming back again to the Tribe Shishi. It was these Japanese Rastas that took me in Yeah, yeah. And they took me to sessions. I remember it was like Tree Eye and a few in Lions End. I remember that. You know, I mean, it's been so long ago. I'm trying to remember all these parts of New York, and it is like.
Okay, it's understandable. You're very active as far as touring, doing shows and stuff. So some of these things slip to the wayside. Okay, the artist. You said in 2004 you actually started going into these sessions. When did you actually start recording music as a professional artist?
2005 when I released Declaration of Truth.
Okay, so it was no time for you moving from these sessions to the recording booth to actually putting out music. What was the initial reaction you got from your first releases?
The reaction was quite unique because you don't really have any reggae artists that come from Asia, you know?
Yes.
I mean, you have plenty of whole heap of selectors, like, you know, Mighty Crown, big up Mighty Crown, but like roots artists from Asia and releasing something like at that time New York. So there was a uniqueness of it, you know. It was, of course, a positive perception of it.
Okay, so you have the initial reaction of people seeing someone of Asian descent with dreadlocks doing reggae music. What was some of the initial reaction you got from people? Did they look past the music? Did they look to you, the man? Did they try to find out more of who you are? Or did they just accept the music and accepted you for who you are?
They have to find, they have to check me first, yeah, and then the music. I mean, even still to this day, I still have some people that would check the shell first and then the music, you know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's always like that, you know.
Okay. You mentioned before that you're based in New York. You've been doing most of your work in New York. What is the reception when you went back to Indonesia? You mentioned earlier that they were still predominantly listening to Bob Marley.
Yeah, yeah.
What was the reaction on the ground in Indonesia once you came with what you're bringing to the table?
One of the things that was very interesting at the beginning of my career in Indonesia was that when I released like a strategy, you can say, or this we can say technique also, but I want to take a step out of the roots style, and I went into the dance hall, you know, but the message is still there, you know, and how I see, like, I grew up with like Sizzla. I'm a very big Sizzla fan, you know. Sizzla was very revolutionary because he voiced on dancehall rhythms, but he was very, very conscious in his music, you know, in his message. So I wanted to take that element of it for the first album, and I get a lot of the feedback was very mix of a feedback because Indonesians weren't familiar to dancehall music, so they would consider it a bit of hip hop or more R&B. And for me, I wanted to show that this is a part of Jamaican culture, and I wanted to show that. That was one of the feedback that I get, and the ones that actually supported me in the beginning of my career in Indonesia was actually the hip hop community, you know, because they saw it's something different because they are doing hip hop, they are living hip hop. So when they hear something like dancehall, it's definitely Jamaican, it's definitely from reggae, you know, so they could understand it more, you know.
Okay, you mentioned that the sound systems play a big role in Asia as far as pushing the reggae music. As far as other artists, are there other artists besides yourself in Indonesia right now? You being the reggae ambassador, you being the first foremost artist coming out of Indonesia, are there other artists that are currently looking at you and trying to further their career, or trying to step in your footsteps and become the next artist out of Indonesia?
I feel like sometimes I dip on my own.
Okay, no, yeah. It's understandable because once again, we're discussing Indonesia, Southeast Asia. It's a region where you would not really expect much from reggae music. So even if you are the first and foremost and the only artist doing it now, you're still doing it, you're still bringing the message, and we appreciate that.
I mean, in Indonesia itself, reggae music is huge, unbelievably huge, and we have so many artists. But the thing is, sometimes I feel like the bridging and session in the musical reggae in Indonesia, I want them to really bridge the gap between Indonesia and Jamaica. And sometimes they don't do that, you know. I feel that, you know, we are borrowing something from Jamaica, and you have to give that credit. You have to big up the Jamaican people, but also have our own character as Indonesians, you know, not copy Jamaica. Yeah, but that's the thing. Sometimes, I mean, lots of the bands that I know in Indonesia, they just like Bob Marley, Bob Marley, Bob Marley, Bob Marley, Bob. Everything Bob Marley is like, yo, man. It's like, you know, we have so many things as in cultural aspects in Indonesia that we could combine through reggae music, you know, and that itself can be, you know, like the reggae revival right now, they can be as role models, you know, that we can exemplify to, you know.
Okay.
But reggae revival is very experimental right now. You know?
Speaking of the reggae revival, that's a term that I use often. I've been actually scolded by certain artists saying that it's not a revival. I mean, but one of the most prominent artists within the revival right now, apart from Chronics, would be Kabaka Pyramid. I was very pleased to learn that you have worked with and recorded with Kabaka Pyramid before. That's personally one of my favorite artists. And I'm excited for the listeners to hear this record. TGM Radio, King Lion Caribbean Showcase, Sniper. This song is Ras Muhamad featuring Kabaka Pyramid. We're going to let the listeners hear the record, and then we're going to get into it and let people know a little bit more about the record.
Yeah.
TGM Radio.
Song entitled Re-Education.
Yeah. But
Ras Muhamad.
One of my proudest works.
Featuring Kabaka Pyramid. How did that collaboration come about?
Well, I actually know Kabaka since about 2011. When he was sealing of the Rebel Music EP, you know, and in 2012 he released a combination with Sarah Ugo, you know, and my style and his style are a bit similar, and he also is a big fan of hip hop, and I'm very influenced by hip hop.
Yes.
And we're a big Wu-Tang fan, so that's
Check out Kabaka earlier works if you're interested in what we're talking about. He actually has some cross-genre music. It's basically hip-hop.
He was MCing.
Yes, it's basically hip-hop.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's still bad now, of course, yeah.
Okay.
So, but we are very, we study Kemetic knowledge and Kemetic philosophy, ancient Egypt. You know, it's always about reasoning and things, you know. So, when it was time for me to make an album, I just said, hey, come up, you want to do a combination? This guy, of course. And we know what we're going to talk about before we seal up the thing. So, yeah. And the tune came about that, re-education. We try to find a connection in which I see that, you know, Africa is the birth of civilization, that everyone comes from Africa. And African extended their, you know, our civilization to Asia. And you can see traces of that, and basically of that, because they don't teach you that in school. So basically that, re-education.
So once again, the record entitled Re-Education, you're basically giving us the meaning behind the record. Okay. I just wanted to stop you to let the listeners know that's what you were doing. Continue. It's your classroom.
Oh, all right. That's basically what I wanted to say. But the thing is that there's a Minister Malcolm X's speech there. But originally I wanted to sample, but we didn't get to hear the rights to sample Rakim and Nas, because there is this what was it? Follow the leader verse. I think he said God by nature, mind raised in Asia, and then Nas says in what was it? It ain't hard to tell. He goes like Afrocentric Asian, half man, half amazing. We want to put that, but we couldn't clear the rights, so.
Shout out to Yardby. They was in here last week dropping that It Ain't Hard to Tell on dub plate. So they played that on dub plate. Yeah, so shout out to the sounds in Asia doing it. Shout out to the artists in Asia doing it. Another thing that I noticed, you've collaborated with artists from Malaysia. So again, I need you to paint a picture for the listeners now. in the Asian culture, we know Japan is heavy on the reggae music. But apart from Japan, we are now finding out about the other areas in Asia that is gravitating towards reggae music. What are some of the other countries in Asia you could travel to and you can go to a good roots or reggae session?
Well, after Japan, second would be Indonesia. They're probably the biggest for the followers of reggae music. But there is a few scenes in Singapore. A sister of mine who lived in Jamaica, she's originally Singaporean, but she's doing the movement. It's called Singapore Dub Club. Yeah, man, big up. Major one.
Shout out to Yardcore, the whole reggae revival movement. Yeah, shout out to the dub club scene, Gabriel Selassie in Jamaica. We be doing our part to spread the music.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Okay. You made your mark in Asia as a recording artist.
Right.
You became the ambassador for, as you say, the second largest population following reggae music in Asia. You moved on to Europe. How did you make the connection between Indonesia and Europe? And who were some of the first people that you linked with on the mainland in Europe?
Well, there's this elder who worked for the Goethe Institute. It's a cultural institute for Germany. He's a big reggae fan. I think his age is about 50 years old or something like that. But he was actually one of the first men that I ever met to see Bob Marley live. It was like 1979 or 1980 during the Survival Tour. So I even carry reggae music all throughout his life, and he wanted to combine his passion with work. So his idea was to bring a German artist who was speaking Deutsch in reggae music to do a tour in Indonesia. And so when he came, the artist's name is Uvaka. He came with his band called One Drop Band. One Drop Band was actually the session players for Oneness Records. So we went on a tour together for about 4 or 5 cities, I can't remember. That was about 2012. And then we became pretty much a family. And at the end of the tour, they were like, would you like to voice on Oneness Records rhythms? Like, yeah, sure. And then when everything finished, the producers, they were like, you want to finish up an album? It was like, yeah. So we were connected through there.
Okay, I noticed before we started the interview, you work with a lot of instruments as well. Before I get into you, the artist, the player of instruments, have you worked with Umberto Eco?
Yes, Umberto Eco. He's actually my engineer and my mixologist.
Okay,
yeah.
So for the people in Europe who know that name, know what I'm talking about, you know we heavy in this culture right now. We real deep in the roots reggae music. Okay, you linked with Oneness Records through them coming to Indonesia.
Yes.
What actually made the guys at Oneness label work with you, the artist? What did they see in you that impressed the record label, who have worked with so many different artists?
One is the style that I'm doing, that I'm bilingual artist. I'm very comfortable expressing myself in Indonesian and also in English, in Patois.
So you have recorded music in Indonesian?
Yeah. Okay. The Salam album is actually my 4th album, and it's released 2014. 2007 was my first album in Indonesia, Reggae Ambassador, and it was about 80% Bahasa Indonesia, and that's the native language. Okay. Yeah. And the second album still the same, third also, but it's mostly Indonesian because I want to approach it as that I can express myself in reggae music with Indonesian.
Okay. Now you mentioned that Salam is your 4th studio album. That is the album you're actively here promoting right now. Visuals, you have visuals off of this album.
Yeah.
You are on YouTube. I'm thinking now because there's so much music for Ras Muhamad online. I'm trying to remember the video that I actually saw.
Was it the most views or no?
No, it wasn't the most views, but it was something produced by Oneness that you did. That it was a beautiful visual. You started out where you were in like an office, and then you walked onto the set of the video, and you started performing.
Oh yeah, that was the Salam video.
Okay.
Yeah, man.
The concept of that video was different. It was beautiful. You worked obviously with Oneness Records on that record. Who was responsible for the concept of that video?
It was me.
Okay, I kind of figured that. Okay, so let's get into the album Salam. Once again, it's produced by Oneness Records. Did they do the entire production for the album?
Yeah, more or less, because I'm somewhat a co-producer for the album also.
Okay.
I mean, for me, I see myself as an artist also, but I like to have a lot of creative control in my music. I want to know where my music is directed. I want to know where my music is going, you know. I'm not just like, give me a rhythm, voice, and then I don't care how the mixing goes and things like that. I want to know how the mixing and mastering comes, you know. That's why for me, just like
you're hands-on.
Yeah, I'm very hands-on. For me, like, I mean, I love jugglers rhythm, but it just like, it seems like I'm just voicing for the sake of voicing, you know, for catching a vibe or something like that. You know, I respect it, but for me, it's just like, yeah, I have a lot of creative control, and I think that's one of the things that Oneness was also impressive. Like, usually the other artists, when they finish, they just wait until the album finish. For me, it was the album cover, the concept. I want to make it like the album cover. If you see it, it's very Indonesian, but also there's a lot of philosophy in it. I'm in the middle of the rice fields, and in the back there's the mountain that looks like a pyramid, but it's actually come from a traditional dance or traditional arts from Indonesia that represents the tree of life, that represents the universe, you know. It's called the Gunungan and all of that. I want to, yeah, that's one of those creative control things that I do.
Okay, delving deeper into you, the artist, and the music that you put forth for the masses, you are also a player of instruments.
Yeah. A few instruments.
Yes, let's talk about that for a minute. What instruments does Ras Muhamad actually play?
Well, main instrument is the drums. Yeah, the modern drum kit and hand drums too. And I play a little of the bass, a little of the guitar, and now I'm learning the melodica.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have actual formal training in instruments? Is this something that you went to school for? Is this something that you just picked up because of your love for music?
Actually, the first instrument that I picked up was a guitar, and I had lessons on it for like 6 months, and then I quit. Afterwards, it's just like, I can learn it by myself, you know. So some of the songs in the Salam album, I find keys from the guitar and try to share it with the producer, with Maury. It's like, what do you think of this, and then we develop that, you know.
Shout out to the artist Danny Day Watson. She was here a couple of weeks ago. She's also an artist that's self-taught on the guitar. So I'm starting to meet a lot more artists who are not formally trained on the instruments, but because of their love for the music, they find themselves actually taking the time out to learn these instruments. You mentioned the harmonica, which is
the melodica.
Pardon me, the melodica, which is one of my favorite instruments to hear within the reggae music genre. It's an instrument that is not normally played that often by people. What made you gravitate towards that particular instrument?
Pablo.
Augustus Pablo.
Augustus Pablo. I mean, I always see Augustus Pablo as this mystical being playing this mysterious instrument that is, I remember, it's for children, but he plays it in such a unique way, and it's just like people call it the wind piano, you know, and you can't really play it like a piano, and Augustus Pablo plays it. That's like one of the genius that he, you know, the way that he played the melodica. I was like, it's amazing.
Shout out to Augustus Pablo, one of the premier talents that we had in the music industry. Shout out to his son, Adis, doing it now.
Rockers International.
Yes. Okay, so now you hooked up with Oneness Records. We have some other records from prominent artists on that label that you collaborated with as well. We're going to get into that in a few. But the general production from the album, you said you were hands-on with it. How long did you actually migrate to Europe to work on the album with Oneness?
No, this is basically through online.
Okay, so the reason I asked that is because you were such a hands-on artist with your music. What was the back and forth between you and the label in order to get the album completed, and how long did the process take?
Usually the albums that I work with before would take me about 6 months, but with the Salam it took me a year and a half because I was touring also. Okay. So during that time, yeah, it would take a while with the session files and also the ideas and changing things and all of that. But it was a joy. It was a joy doing it because now I just remember, yeah, while I was touring to promote a book because I released a book also.
Okay, so now you just gave me a whole different page of questions for you.
I know, yeah. Okay. I'm starting to remember now what. So besides being an artist,
you're also author.
Yeah, and also a radio announcer. Was.
We're gonna get to that in a minute. This is the second one for the night, pressuring me for my job. They looking at Father G like they could step in the studio and grab this mic from me. But let's talk about you, the author, and what book did you actually publish, and what was it about?
All right. Well, a lot of people that fall in love with reggae music, and also that fall in the Rasta liberty, they always go to Jamaica first, I think. For me, first time I went to Jamaica was actually 2015, and that's in a physical form. But I went to Ethiopia first, and it was about 2012, and it's a 3 weeks journey that I went there, my pilgrimage, and that's basically what my book is about, and my so-called 10-year meditation of what Rastafari is to me, how I view it, and also me being an Indonesian Rasta, and that's what the book is about. The book is called Negeri Pelangi. It means rainbow country. So yeah, it's my meditation, and also it's my explanation on like the lyrics that I use, like Zion and Babylon and all that. Because a lot of my fans ask me, what do you use Babylon for, and like that, and I want to explain it, the whole history of it, you know, about like the anti-colonialism and all of that, because in actuality Indonesia played a big part on the anti-colonial movement, on the independence of a lot of African nations, in which a lot of, coming again to the re-education thing, that you don't learn a lot of things about that. In actuality, like in 1955, Indonesia held the first conference of non-European nations, and it's called the Asia-Africa Conference. It's actually in part in Indonesia, West Java, it's called Gedung Merdeka, or the Uhuru building, in which they say is the home for all Asians and Africans, because it was 1955, and it was at that time that we decided that everyone must be a sovereign country, cannot be a colonial country anymore. So that was one of the aspects that I put in Negeri Pelangi that I wanted to explain, you know.
Beautiful concept to the book.
But funny thing about the book, when I released it, I was tear gassed in the launching.
Okay, why did that occur? What fight did you have in releasing the book that occurred?
That occurred because they say it's overcrowded, but it wasn't. It was not overcrowded. Yeah, I think there was mismanagement in the place that we held it in.
Okay, the capacity was. Yeah. It reached its limit. You had too many people there.
And then afterwards there was some police officers in undercover clothing and all. They shot tear gas, in which it was not procedure, and then gone afterwards. And I had to tell the crowd to go home, and they went home peacefully, you know. So.
Okay, but I guess this will attest to the power that you are amassing with the music in Indonesia on the ground. So despite it being a negative thing, there's also a silver lining.
I mean, at that time it made me self-aware. It's like, wow, like before maybe like 2009, 2010, I can play shows in like a venue for 300 people. I can't play shows at that time anymore. Play shows for that capacity. It needs to be 1,000, it needs to be 2,000 outdoors and that's the usual crowd that I play in front of, and it's amazing.
Impressive, impressive. Okay, the album, once again, it's in stores now. It's on iTunes, Amazon, or digital platforms, entitled Salam. DJ Sniper, let's give the listeners a little something off of the album a little bit. We're going to come back. We have lots more to discuss with Ras Muhamad, but for now, want to bless them with the Conquest off of the Salam album, available now on all digital platforms. Who is the young lady singing on that record with you?
This tune is actually called Learn and Grow with Sarah Lugo.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we actually had that listed incorrectly. My apologies. Sarah Lugo, another oneness artist. Okay. So you were definitely heavy in Europe, working with the oneness camp. Where are some of the places that, since you've left Indonesia, migrated to New York, back and forth, where are some of the other places in the world that reggae music has taken you as an artist to perform?
Norway, Ethiopia, Thailand, Cambodia, East Timor, I'm trying to remember now. Places, yeah, Malaysia, Singapore, Costa Rica. Costa Rica is so big with reggae music. Yeah, I recently just came back from Costa Rica for March. We performed with Sarah, and we had about a good 5,000 people, and they were waiting in line. It took about 2 hours to let everyone in, and we played by the beach, and them love roots like that. Yeah.
You've also recently performed in New York?
Yes, just last night.
Okay.
It's my full circle concert. Yeah,
okay.
Coming back.
Tell us what that feeling was like to come back to New York and to perform for you basically grew as an artist in New York.
Yes.
Tell us what it's like when you leave out of New York, you've seen the impact that your music has had worldwide, but then you have a chance to come back and perform for the area that you know in New York City.
Yeah, actually, I'm very moved by it. Very, very moved by it, because it's very much a blessing for me. I give thanks for every moment in my life, and also I give thanks for me being here. That it's unreal and unbelievable that I am here again in New York, and actually as a man. Before I was like a young adult, still thinking and still finding the self, and now I'm here. I can share the vibes and what my experience has been the last 11 years since I got back to New York. And I remember 3 weeks before leaving to New York, well, I played the tune last night, 3 weeks before leaving to New York, leaving from New York, leaving out of New York. I wrote a tune, and the tune was my farewell to New York, and I thought I would never come back again, because there was that point in which we're like, okay, it's going to be a new page in my life. The tune is called Leaving Babylon, and last night I got goosebumps. It moved my heart. I'm like, I can't believe I'm playing this tune in New York now after these many years. 11 years, a long time,
Okay. Now, you have toured all over the world. You came back to your home away from home, which is New York. You performed, gave you goosebumps. What's next for an artist such as yourself, who has done so many things other than the music itself? What is next for Ras Muhamad? What can the listeners look forward to in 2016 with Ras Muhamad?
2016, there's so many things, so many ideas. I just, well, I lived in Jamaica for this year, since early this year, beginning of this year. And I'm trying to mirror what I learned in Kingston. Like, Kingston Dub Club, Vinyl Thursdays, big up everyone, Joe by Evil, Dub. yeah, dub club and dub school and all of that. I try to mirror that, and I want to carry those missions in Bali, you know, mixing the sound system culture and mixing it with like, you know, consciousness.
I'm glad you brought that up. Mixing the sound system culture. Being an artist that perform live, you play instruments and stuff. When you perform and the listeners come out to see you, do you typically perform with a band or do you perform on a sound system?
In the beginning, I perform on a sound system, and that's where I get a lot of fight. It's like, how come this is on a DJ format? A lot of people that, and even to this day, I try to explain. You know, the DJ format in the beginning, 50 years ago, only Jamaicans did it, none other. You know, when they chat on the mic while the DJ.
You had to be tough to be able to get that mic in your hand.
Yeah. You know, and I had to explain that it's actually come from Jamaica. Whatever music that's going on right now, you know, from dubstep, from house, and all of that came from Jamaica. You know, with remixing, with, you know, messing around with the mixing board and all that came from Jamaica.
Okay, so you actually have the capability of doing both when you perform.
Doing both, yeah.
Okay, tell us a little bit about when you perform with a band. Do you actually have a band?
Yes, it's called the Easy Skanking Band.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the band, the members of the band.
Well, we're a 5-piece. Well, including me, it would be 6, you know. But yeah, we try to emulate how Jamaicans do it, you know, with the pull-ups and mixing and all of that. So we keep it up to date. Yeah.
Okay. We are gonna keep you in tune here at TGM Radio Kingline Caribbean Showcase. Stay tuned for an acoustic set by Ras Muhamad. He's gonna show you what these instruments does. But before we get into that, we have a lot of music here, all for the Salam Project. Once again, it's available now on iTunes, Amazon, all digital platforms. So Sniper, let's get into something else. We just gave them Learn and Grow, featuring Sarah Lugo. Let's give them something else off of this project, Salam, by Ras Muhamad.
DJM Radio.
The artist, Ras Muhamad, show you his talents. It's not only studio works, it's not only rhythms he's jumping on. He has the talent, he can play the instruments, and he's gonna show you now. Once again, the artist Ras Muhamad. Tell us a little bit about what you're about to perform for us now.
I'm actually gonna play Emancipasi. It means emancipation in Bahasa Indonesia. And the tune is about the Asia Africa, but it was inspired by, I'm a big Dennis Brown fan. I'm very, very influenced by the man.
R.I.P. to the Crown Prince.
Yes, of course. I'm actually, one of the next works that I'm releasing is with Marla Brown, the daughter of Dennis Brown. And that will come out in, I think, about 2 months or so. So look out for the video.
Okay. So once again, look forward to the upcoming works from Ras Muhamad. We're going to give you a little sample of the acoustic setting. TGM Radio, Kingline Caribbean Showcase.
emansipasi dan pembebasan untuk semua bangsa yang tertindas. Emansipasi dan pembebasan, satukan dunia dalam laras perlawanan. Inilah pencerahan dalam masa yang kelam, mematahkan rantai-rantai kolonial Babylon, membangkitkan kembali bangsa Asia dan Afrika. Dahulu kau bergelora bagaikan mercusuar bagi dunia, tempat lahir dan peradaban dan pusat ilmu, menakjubkan insan dengan bangunanmu. Kini mereka mencoba mendiskreditkan jasa-jasamu dan melupakan. Kini mereka mencoba dan merendahkan butuhnya solidaritas Afrika dan Asia yang telah dijanjikan di dalam dasar sila. Kota Bandung dijadikan saksi mata konferensi tingkat tinggi Asia Afrika. Ya gaya yes saya emansipasi, emansipasi, bebaskan diri, emansipasi, emansipasi, bebaskan diri, emansipasi now. Emansipasi, bebaskan diri, emansipasi, emansipasi Asia dan Afrika, Afrika, yeah. They never want me forever burning. And don't you see that the table has turned? You see that love I and I preaching. Not every land of hate shall be burned. See, I was there when the ships came and chastised I in a Jesus name. Wonder if me crazy, wonder if it's slain, but the whole of Rome I go up in flames. Well, I know nothing till me walk in a room and start a fire, start a fire. Well, I know nothing till me walk up in a room and start a fire, start a fire. Lord, I wonder how a Indonesian I go burn down the colonial Netherlands. Well, I know nothing till me walk in a room and start a fire, start a fire. Yes, I Lord have mercy. Take it away. Yeah, up. Emansipasi, bebaskan diri, emansipasi, emansipasi, bebaskan diri, emansipasi, yeah. Emansipasi, bebaskan diri, emansipasi, emansipasi Asia dan Afrika.
Who's the gentleman sitting next to you playing the guitar right now?
His name is Ruli.
Ruli. Shout out to Ruli.
Yeah.
Now, quick question. Mr. Ruley sitting next to you.
Yes.
He's playing the genre, he's playing the reggae music. I heard a little Augustus in there.
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you sample quick fast.
Yeah, man.
Where does he get his musical training from with the reggae background?
Well, what's interesting, he's an old Reggae of mine. I know him since I was 14, actually. The first band that I formed was with him. Okay. Because I don't just come from a reggae background, but I have this wide range of music. I listen to heavy music, I listen to hip hop and all of that. So the first band that we formed was heavy music incorporated with hip hop and also with reggae.
Like reggae, yes.
Yeah. But now he plays metal music, but I show him the styles of that he can play to reggae music too.
Yeah, I always like reggae music. Besides Bob Marley and all the artists that he introduced me, and then I would just take that as like, wow, that's a great thing, and then I think that sharpened my musical influence.
Yeah, he's very talented.
I like that rhythm from reggae that I think it's impacted a lot of heavy music without the word really asking, like all the rock band I listen to, like wow, so to me it's like a huge respect. Music is all like.
Well,
the world does not know that Bob Marley influenced so many people.
Yes,
I was just about to say, growing up, I remember seeing tons of pictures with Bob Marley, with Mick Jagger and Eric Clapton and artists like this. So it's a beautiful thing that you guys are coming together. Are you also from Indonesia?
Yes. I was born in Indonesia, Bandung, Indonesia.